What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So we're going to be taking a look at MindsEye here on the Steam Deck, and if you've been paying attention to this game at all, you know there have been a ton of red flags and issues along the way, and a lot of us are quite frankly surprised that it even launched and didn't get delayed. My guess is with GTA 6 next year coming, they didn't want to hold off until 2027, so they're pushing it out this year, and it definitely feels like an unfinished game that wasn't ready to go. But anyways, guys, I do want to take a look at the performance so that you know what's happening here with MindsEye on your Steam Deck. So as far as settings, we're not going to get into a lot here. I don't want to waste a lot of your time in this video because this game's not a very playable experience here. But we are 800p full screen. FSR 3 is on for now. Quality, performance, doesn't really matter what we do with upscaling. There's all kind of issues when it comes to performance here. And then just low for all of the settings. I really can't get into testing much more because there's a lot of issues there. And motion blur turned off, and yeah, so we get in here with FSR 3 quality with those settings, and we're in the 20s just sitting still here next to the house on one of the missions. If we go over and turn on TSR, I was curious to what we would get with that at 50%, probably a little bit more performance, which we do, but there's a lot of flickering and issues, which the game has anyways with textures and lighting, but that was much worse. I went ahead and used XESS at performance, and you could adjust this wherever you want. It really doesn't make a big difference. Use what upscalers you like, but it takes away all that flickering and issue for that. Now, as far as getting into the actual gameplay, though, it's going to start to fall apart. You spend a lot of driving and time driving, flying drones and stuff like that in this game. Kind of like filler in a way, but those times are obviously much harder to run. We're moving faster throughout the game. So you are in the teens or 20s most of the time doing these things, and a lot of times it'll stutter or get worse than that and be more slideshowy. So it's a shame, even though the game itself isn't great. There's a lot here when it comes to the story I've been interested in, and you can tell there's certain parts that they were working on that they had a vision here, but man, it just got rushed out the door is what it feels like, and things got left very basic and unfinished when it comes to a lot of this stuff. Even cutscenes, which can look pretty nice on a normal PC, look pretty rough here and have trouble even hitting that 30 FPS cap that we have on the cutscenes here. Just moving your character around any part of the open world, you can get a little bit more performance. Again, we're not moving as fast. It's not going to look great, but yeah, you get into gunfights, you get busy, which we'll take a look at here shortly. Things are going to fall apart more. There's just not a lot for me to show because you're almost always under 30 FPS, and a lot of the times you're in the teens and 20s depending on what you're doing in the game, at least so far, and I've played a third of the game. All of that on the Steam Deck while testing it on some of the other handhelds for a few minutes to see how they would run. Something like the Claw 8's actually running the game fairly playable, but still the game has so many issues on top of that to begin with. It can be tough. But yeah, here on the Steam Deck, getting in a little bit of gunfight and stuff here, as you can see, sometimes we're able to get to that 30, and it's a shame we can't just hold a 30 FPS with this game on here, because even though essentially the game has its own major issues, when it comes to performance, if we could hold 30, it would actually be at least something playable here. But yeah, depending on where you're at in the game, where or if you're driving, you're drone, you're in combat, you're just walking around, at least in my 4 or 5 hours, which is about a third of the game here, this is pretty much what you can expect from upper teens to 20s, with sometimes getting into the 30s when you get really away from population or you're out in the middle of nowhere. It's a shame to see it because it really does feel like they had something here that they were working towards, and then along the way really got pushed to rush and just get the game out is just what it feels like. So they couldn't finish polishing out gameplay, performance, and all of that while they were kind of trying to wrap all of that around what seems to be an actually pretty good, pretty decent story, and could have been something cool here. But we'll see what happens with patches and things like that. But I think this is going to be one of those games that maybe kind of fades away not too long after its launch. And I really wanted to show you guys how it's running here. Hopefully save your money and don't jump into this one right now. On the other handhelds, it does kind of seem like it's playable, but I'll take a closer look at those. All right, guys, thanks a lot for coming and check out the video. As always, I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.